Welcome to Tabletop Gaming Guild, a podcast that's all about the experiences and memories that playing games with friends and families can create. On this episode, we're going to talk about what we did during the coronavirus quarantine. We all had different degrees of quarantine, and we're all going to discuss that and just our general musings on the subject. So, I don't know if we want to get this kicked off. Dan, what did you do during this time? How did it impact you?
All right. Well, I'll start by saying that, the first announcement made by Governor Wolf caused all stores to basically close down, and that people could still do pickup. So at that point in time, I was sent home because New Dimension Comics is still a small business, even though it has 6 physical stores. Only the managers were allowed to stay on the clock. I, being a lowly assistant manager, was sent home. And then at that point in time, the store was still taking orders over the phone and delivering people to their books, because new subscriptions did come out that week, curbside, right? And then I even did that. Like, I called the store to place an order by phone and did a pickup,
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, I got some supplies. I got some sleeves. And then since the order to shelter in place started, I've been mostly staying at home. I've been out maybe once or twice just to get supplies or just to get out of the house. And then me and Ken have adopted a schedule where we play a board game every afternoon-ish, shortly after lunch. We make sure we clean up and breathe a little bit, and then we sit down for game. So that's been awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have the same thing going, so I think we'll talk about the games we played and stuff, and we're going to do that in a second. Nathan, how were you for the I know you weren't really locked down at all.
Yeah, I have what I guess is classified as an essential job, working with food stuff, so I do distribution, and I'm fairly critical. I end up having to go in and work with one arm because of, injured one arm. And, it's been interesting. Our orders have basically increased 5 to 10 times.
Well, that's Nathan breaking off for a second. He actually works in a warehouse, if you didn't guess. So he actually helps with shipping of goods and stuff. So the reason his orders are increasing is because he ships out to different retailers. Now, I'll let Nathan continue since he got cut off there.
Oh, did you miss some of that?
So where we're at is Nathan had to work at the warehouse and shipping out orders and such. So you've been working a lot there.
Yeah, so when I get home, I still have kind of built-in game group at home. So I have been playing games, been focusing mainly on Clank Legacy. But we can talk about that. Maybe we talk to Peter first.
All right, Peter, how have you been handling? I was very, very sad when the library closed the day after we talked.
Yeah, not just you. So the library, we were all getting ready to go. We went home for the end of the week, and I got home and probably like 30 minutes later checked my work email to find out that we were not going to be able to open the next week. And so we actually we found out at like 5:30 on Friday, and then on Saturday when we were going to open, we decided no, they told us to close, we're going to go ahead and close now. So we did an all staff meeting on Saturday, and we got ourselves prepared. We gathered all of our stuff, and we kind of broke up some assignments that we could do from home, and I have been home making tutorial videos to help people who like using the library figure out how to use our e-resources like ebooks and audiobooks that people can download and borrow on their different devices. So that's mostly what I've been up to.
Yeah.
At least for the work day from home. So whenever it's not work day stuff, then I'm letting myself play some games. Been purchasing a couple things on Steam and seeing what I've got on my Xbox 360 that I haven't played in a while.
Oh, that's cool. Well, fortunately / unfortunately for me, I'm a software developer, so I can work from home. So I have only worn pajamas for the last week and a half. And worked from my home office every day. So I basically just log in and code and log out at the end of the day and play board games with my daughters and
Sounds
watch a
pretty
lot of
awesome.
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. What's your favorite Disney Plus feature so far?
So I know I'm way behind everyone else. But I really love The Mandalorian.
It's fantastic. Are you done with it? Have you finished?
No, I'm on episode 5.
All right, everybody, let's
goodness.
spoil it up. Let's go for it.
I'll tell you this.
I can't spoil anything for you because
You haven't seen it yet?
Well, no. Like we don't. I don't bother with any of the paid TV options. What do I call it? If I had to pick something that I was doing besides playing board games with my brother, I've been playing video games on my console, my home PC. I am also on Steam, though I've been there for a while, and I've been doing some light reading.
I approve.
Comics, manga, for the most part, really.
Oh, you're gonna get me into like all side stuff, but I will say, Star Wars, I was sort of losing interest in, especially with the last couple movies. I haven't seen the latest movie, so I'm waiting for that to come out. But The Mandalorian definitely got me back into Star Wars.
Yeah, The Mandalorian is wonderful.
I was thinking about ditching my Star Wars Imperial Assault collection, but now I'm taking it back and I'm going to start painting the miniatures again. I was that disillusioned with Star Wars until that. It's a really, really good.
Okay, then.
And on the other part, the other thing I liked watching a lot was, other than Star Wars, is I got to watch a whole bunch of Disney movies with my daughters. And they keep singing Let It Go over and over and over again. My 1-year-old sings it.
That's fantastic.
Yes, sort of. Not really.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
Okay. I've been reading more of the Robert Jordan Wheel of Time stuff.
What book are you on?
I'm on, well, I've already read it once all the way through.
Right.
But on my reread, I'm on book 6.
Okay.
So I was really surprised at how much stuff actually happens, or already happened in the books that I've reread. Like, I was thinking in my head that the events were much farther along.
Right.
So, and the movie series is coming out, but that actually is now postponed.
Yes, I have seen.
I'm super sad about that.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, a lot of TV shows and movies have been postponed. I noticed that on Amazon Prime, and I've heard that Netflix is starting to do it too. They're actually streaming the movies that are supposed to be in the theaters right now.
That happened with Frozen 2. I saw that with my daughters. I don't know if they're going to do that with The Rise of Skywalker, which is out on the 31st or whatever that Tuesday is, or the last Tuesday.
Yep.
So that'll be fun. But on to board games.
Yeah.
We'll do a reverse order here. I'll start with Peter. What was one of the... did you get to play any board games at all during this time?
Yeah, so far, the games that I've played, again, you know me, behind the times and not up to date with anything new. I've played a couple old games. One I had played before, but it had been a really long time. But my wife and I both like it, and since we are here by ourselves playing some 2-player games, we played Forbidden Island, which it's one of those, like, I really like it, but I can understand probably why it's been a couple years since I played it last. Is like, once you've played it a few times, you figure out how you're supposed to win, hopefully. And other than just making it harder for yourself by starting higher up that water, then you pretty much kind of have it down. But we played Forbidden Island. It was a lot of fun, really, really good time. A new one for me that I hadn't played before was Jaipur.
Ah, Jaipur, yeah.
Jaipur. And we both really, really liked it a lot. Probably one of my favorite 2-player games that I've ever played.
Only a 2-player game, I believe, right?
Yeah, it is only a 2-player game.
Yeah.
So we enjoyed that quite a bit, enough so that usually it's like we play one playthrough and my wife is like, oh, okay, I'm good. But we played that one immediately again and just made a really nice evening of it. So yeah, played both of those recently and they were good.
Japor's not that long of a playtime, right? It's like 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, we even just taking the time to read through the book and then play through it twice. I think we were at the table maybe an hour and 15 minutes. I mean, I feel like that was. I mean, playing through it twice because one playthrough was like 30 minutes. So.
Pete, I've got a question for you, if you don't mind. I know you're also into the RPGs. Have you been doing any of that while you're in lockdown? Have you found ways to connect with players remotely, or are you just stewing new campaigns to drop on your players' heads when you get back to it?
So I sadly haven't played any D&D yet, but I have played some RPG. I played a session of For the Dungeon, which is luckily for me one of the RPGs I actually get to play rather than run. I have a friend who has been running me and my wife and a couple other friends through For the Dungeon, and we play maybe like once a month, once every other month, and I am loving it. It is a RPG where you play one of the minions of an up-and-coming villain, and they are having you go off on these different missions. It is a D6 RPG, so all you're rolling is those D6s, and you have very few traits that you're pulling from, and pretty much whenever you get into a scenario where you have to roll, you look at your few traits, decide how many of those actually pertain to what it is you're trying to do, and you get to roll that many dice. Ones and twos and threes are kind of failures. Ones are epic failures. Fours and fives, you succeed, but with a little bit of a drawback, and a 6 is a success. So it is a lot of fun. I play a kobold. For any of those of you who do not know what a kobold is, it is a miniature lizard dog type man creature thing, and he is like a little teeny MacGyver. He carries around a little multi-tool. He likes to put together traps, and he is a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah, RPG seems like a good option at this time because you can go full theater of the mind and not have to have actual presence. You could do it all over Skype if you're doing theater of the mind.
We did the whole thing over Discord. No visuals. It was just us talking to each other.
Yeah and if you're somewhat creative, there's plenty of workarounds where you could actually have visual representations. You could have a map on the computer, files you send them.
Oh, absolutely. So I am working on hopefully doing at least one session here in the next week through Roll20. Which will give me the option of having a battle mat on and some miniatures and things like that. So we'll see. We'll see if it happens.
I like For the Dungeon. I always wanted to play that one. I liked their Kickstarter a lot. It was pretty cheap to jump in, and you can buy their PDF pretty cheaply too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that looks like a really cool RPG.
Well, if you guys are ever interested, I would be willing to run for you and your daughters if you want to play.
Yeah, they would definitely be interested. I'll probably end up purchasing the PD. Oh, it's only like $7.99.
Oh yeah, it's super cheap.
So even if you want it, like you could get the softcover book at $17.99.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad. Oh, you could get it with the PDF for $1 more.
There you go.
Right now I'm losing money.
It's all right. Support those small businesses.
Yeah, definitely. Like anyone I think there's a lot of RPGs out there, but there's very few inventive ones, and that seemed like one that was.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, nice thing about the indie RPGs, they are generally inexpensive, especially if you go the PDF format.
So Forbidden Island was designed by Matt Leacock.
Okay.
And he's one of my. I like him as a designer a lot. Have you ever played Pandemic?
I have, and I love it.
Yeah, it's like you can really tell how the mechanisms are pretty much identical between.
Oh yeah.
The two games.
Yeah, they're incredibly similar. It's just Forbidden Island, just a little bit lower level of gameplay. I feel like, but Pandemic, it just expands on those same ideas.
And let's say lower complexity, not lower level. This is a little different there.
Well,
oh, okay.
It's a lower level too. I mean, it's not as complicated to figure out potentially and win Forbidden Island as it is Pandemic. And
Yeah, just trying
Pandemic
to
can be
avoid-
more swingy too, because Pandemic doesn't have that control that Forbidden Island has. Because Forbidden Island, you only have that grid of islands, and you know what's happening. Pandemic can just go crazy all over the place.
Yep, for sure.
But I was going to recommend Pandemic Legacy Season 1 and 2.
I have a friend who has, that's the so the legacy ones. I have a friend who has Season 1, and I'm dying to play it with him because neither of us have played it. But I think we need some more people. I don't want to do it with just 2 people.
I would love to play it again.
Okay, that's good to know, and I will let him know that I've got somebody who would love to play it. So, because neither of our wives are really in for it. So,
I haven't played the Legacy campaign at all.
Oh, you have to play the Legacy, or no? Well, so we got Dan too. He's
yeah, I was gonna say,
geographically in the area.
so are
there
you
go.
interested, Dan? Is this?
I mean, potentially, yeah.
Okay,
It's
all right.
really good. It's even if you're with Pandemic Season 1 and 2 really ratchet it up, like with permanently modifying the board and stuff. But I'm sorry to cut you off, Dan. Go ahead. What did you do during the quarantine?
What did I do? Well, let's see. So one of the things that happened to me, not board game related, was stuff that I had ordered before the shutdown arrived in my house after the shutdown, just because of the way that shipping worked. Because the shipping services didn't really shut down. So I got some magic cards in the mail, and I was able to put together some decks that I was looking to put together. I also got Endeavor Age of Sail in the mail.
I saw that.
Yeah, posted that on my Instagram account. We received that. We played that once this past week, I guess it's been, along with, let's see, what else did we touch on? We did Fortune and Glory. We did Arkham Horror, we did Concordia, we did The Godfather, and we did Mystic Vale. So that's what we've been playing, board game wise.
Okay.
Oh, so my question is, Endeavor, I have a copy. Is it worth me busting out? I have not played it yet.
Hey, I gave you that copy.
So-
you read it, you play it. It's good.
So I have Endeavor Age of Sail, the updated version, just the basic retail. I didn't spring for the Kickstarter version. I don't even know what it includes that my version doesn't include. We only played it once. We played it only at 2 players, which was arguably not the optimal player count because I think you need more players to fill up the board. We even played with 2 of the 6 areas the board just closed off, not playing with them at all. But like I was worried that the game would be too open even with 2 areas closed off. But by the last turn of the game, we had gotten into the 4 areas that remained open, with the exception of 1. So given that, and given that in fact this was the first play, I think it was right to close off a portion of the board just to focus. But yeah, no, it's good. It wasn't awesomeness for my first play, but it might be one of those games that grows on you.
Well, I'll tell you with Endeavor Age of Sail, the biggest problem with it is you do have to have the larger player count. Doesn't shine unless you have, I was trying to remember what the max was, but the max player count's either 4 or 5. I think it's 4.
Yeah, my version goes to 5.
Yeah.
Time we get it to the table, we're probably going to try. The back of the rule book has something called the Silent Fleet, which they recommend adding to 2-player games to make it feel like a 4-player game. I don't know how that works because I haven't read those rules yet. But we're going to give it a shot and see how it rolls.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see. The thing is, there's a lot of stress with the more players because there's some events and stuff that occur faster with the more players. So depending on your actions you take during the game, there can be repercussions for those actions, and that doesn't really occur unless you have the higher player counts. Well, at least as readily. So the game becomes tighter with the player counts, and it doesn't really scale down very well, but maybe with that variant it does.
Yeah, the other thing that we didn't touch on for our first play was the, I don't even know how many are in the box. There's all these like unique scenario cards that add something extra to the game, which looks like a ton of fun in terms of variability. So Yeah, looking forward to checking that out too.
Yeah. Nathan, you think you're going to give it a play now?
Eventually, just high player count's hard for me to get to the table.
Yeah, that's true.
I usually cap at 3.
3 would be enough for this one, I think.
Okay.
At least get a taste
I'll
and get it
try it
down.
soon.
So Nathan, what did you get to play?
So as I said, I've mostly been playing Clank Legacy. I played through the entire campaign. And I think with Clank, the big question for a lot of people is it's a legacy game, but it's $100. And, legacy games usually are one play, and so they're fairly cheap, inexpensive. So why is Clank Legacy $100? Because it's not entirely a legacy game. It is a legacy game that is still playable after you complete the campaign. Yes, you are destroying things, you are adding stickers to the board, and it's kind of going for the same thing that
It's like Charterstone Legacy.
Charterstone, yes, the one you hate. It's kind of going for the same thing of that one, where it's a unique game after, and I think it's a lot more successful at doing it. Now, the other question a lot of people would have is the acquisition incorporated IP. There's a fair number of people that are familiar with that, but probably not enough to really boost the sales. But you don't need to know. I mean, it's nice to have a little bit of context of who these people are, and I do, the rest of my family does not, and they still enjoyed it. It has a nice little story. If you're not familiar with the characters at all, it's actually a more interesting story in that regard. If you're familiar with the characters, you kind of can guess where things are going, so it's a little bit more predictable. Not nearly as predictable as many of the other legacy games like Pandemic Legacy can be a little bit predictable in the story.
So Clank, for people that don't know, is a dungeon delving game where not dungeon delving where you're actually fighting monsters. You're basically trying to push your luck going down into caverns and collecting different relics and getting back to the surface before the dragon eats you. And push your luck by trying to go farther and farther into the caverns in the normal Clank game. And if you push your luck too far, cubes will be drawn out of a bag every time the dragon attacks. And if you hit, your life total goes down to 0 from the cubes being drawn. If you didn't make it above the surface line, you get 0 points. If you make it above the surface line, you get your loot if you had a relic. And if you get out, you get like a bonus 20 points. That's in essence the game. So you're basically trying to see how far you're willing to go. If you want to jump out early, you can create pressure for the other players. How is Clank Legacy? Is it similar to that idea? Is it more like Clank in Space, which was much more difficult to escape alive than the original Clank? How are they comparable in any way?
They are comparable. It's more similar to the original Clank. They do make it less to make it out alive. So if you don't make it out alive, but you still get loot, you still get points. It's early games. Their chances are you tend not to make it out more often than not, but you're not severely penalized for that. If you get out, you get 20 bonus points.
So I didn't like the idea. I didn't like Clank I like Clank. I'm sorry. I didn't like Charterstone that much. It's a fine game. For me, I like really complicated Euros. Mm-hmm. And dang it. Charterstone is not a complicated Euro. It's more like the 101 of Euros. And it's a fine game. But when you get down to the end, when you have a quote-unquote playable, unique board, it's not really balanced well at the end. So even though the idea is you still have a board that you can play, the Charterstone campaign, for me, it wasn't even playable after that. Do you think that you will bring out Clank Legacy again and play on the unique playable board?
Yes, but I do have a small critique about that, whereas with the group I played the game with, yeah, absolutely. With anybody who's already played the campaign, absolutely. However, I'm worried about playing it with somebody who hasn't played the campaign yet, and wants to, because it'll be massive spoilers. You know, they're not going to know exactly what everything is. It's not going to spoil it right away, but when these things come up in their campaign, they're going, oh, I know what this is. Let's do it this way instead of that way.
Do you think it's worth the $100?
Yeah, we played it's 10 games long, the campaign. It's 10 games long. Let's just say that. And we played all 10 games straight. Yeah, within 1 week, we played all 10 games. So it was a lot of fun. It kept bringing the group back to the table, and we played several games back to back. And yeah, and it's definitely, I'm going to pull this game out again at some point. We'll, maybe give it a little time, but get some other new games in. But yeah, I'll play it again. No question. And I'd love to play somebody else's copy and see how theirs is slightly different. I don't think the differences will be that major. Although there was a lot of content that's still locked away that we can't unlock now, just because the paths we chose made slight differences. And I went through and I counted. There's like 35 cards we never touched. And there were several patrons, which I can't explain what those are because that would be a slight spoiler. There was over 50 stickers that we had never used. So there's quite a bit of content that's not used because the paths we chose.
Huh.
So I know Peter's played like Betrayal Legacy, right?
Yes.
Do you think that someone who's played Betrayal Legacy would want to play? Well, you like Acquisition Incorporated too, don't you, Peter?
Yeah, absolutely. So I watch pretty much every time they do a PAX convention, they do a live AC Inc. game. And so I've watched, I think, every single one of those except for the latest one. And so I have a big desire to play Clank Legacy with the AC Inc. IP. It's another one of those, again, I want to make sure that I'm going to get a pretty close to a full table for it. To make it worth it. I did that same thing with Betrayal Legacy. It caps out at 5 players. We were able to get 4 players to the table every single session for Betrayal Legacy. It's 14 sessions long. It's $60 or $70, I think. I can't remember exactly. And so when you consider you get 4 people to the table for 14 sessions, it's definitely worth the price to play Betrayal Legacy. And it sounds to me like Clank Legacy would probably be worth it as well, especially for me, and knowing the IP and enjoying the characters and wanting to get to play as those characters. I think that would be a lot of fun. So, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those. I'm with Nathan though. Like I wouldn't want to jump in with his finished game, because I want to play through the campaign first, and then I'd be interested to see the differences. Like I'm interested to play with somebody else's Betrayal Legacy game because I want to see what they still have in their game that I don't have in mine anymore. And again, there was so many things that we had to tear up and throw away, and I want to see those different things. So I think it'd be a lot of fun. So
we should start a Legacy club.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. The player count for Clank is preferably 4 players, but we played it with 3, and we didn't find anything wrong with 3-player. It worked just as well. The only little awkward thing is after you finish your campaign, if you want to later add a 4th person, there's a little bit of a maintenance you have to do to get the 4th player caught up. You just might manually go through that player's career. And it's a little bit awkward, but it works.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
If given the opportunity to play Clank Legacy, I'd probably seriously consider it. If they ever came out with Clank in Space Legacy, I'd tell them to shut up and take my money.
Hey, be careful, they probably will.
Oh, and that's another thing that Clank kind of make Clank unique as far as a Legacy game. It's replayable, but it's replayable as 2 different games, because you have double-sided board with 2 different maps that end up fairly different in how they play.
Okay.
Huh. Okay.
That seems interesting. A lot more interesting than what I got to play. Well, I like what I got to play. So I played Saboteur for the first time, which is a little tiny card game that you are dwarves and you try to race towards the gold, but there's 3 different places. You don't know which one it's in. You have, depending on the player count, you have some saboteurs mixed in. So you have some people trying not to make you get to the gold. It's really fun. You play 3 rounds of it, and 3 rounds we can play under an hour. So I've been playing that with my family constantly. That and Point Salad, we've already talked about that one. And I learned the rules for 3 games, and I have not got them to get away from Saboteur yet.
Yeah, Saboteur I played a decade ago, which is before I really knew what modern games was. But yeah, it's definitely one where you're laying out mine tunnels and you're trying to get the gold, but you could have a betrayer that's sabotaging the mine, and you could have multiple betrayers. But it is definitely a game that's better the bigger the number of players you have. It doesn't work too well with 3 or 4. 5 is, I'd say, the minimum.
Yeah, I like that you can have multiple saboteurs because it's nice. It's really hard to win by the saboteur if you're the only one. Sometimes impossible. But the other game I played, which I think is one of the greatest games ever created, was Agricola by Uwe Rosenberg, the best designer on the face of the planet besides Eric Lang. So, just those 2 people. But Agricola, I think, so Uwe Rosenberg did a lot of polynomial games. I don't know if I said that right, but out of the 3 that are lined up, Agricola doesn't have any of that. Then you have Caverna and you have Feast for Odin, and both of them have putting little puzzly pieces on the map or doing stuff. Caverna not so much, but you have rules for how you set your cavern. But Agricola I like the most because it is the meanest. It has a very tight system. There's leeway in it depending on if you know what you're doing with it, but you can if you mess up, it's not forgiving as much as other games. So I think Agricola is extremely rewarding when you have a group of players that have played it together enough. So when you play it, it becomes very challenging because they can predict what you need to do, and they know how the game works and how the mechanisms go. So it becomes a fight from the beginning to the end in Agricola, which if I didn't have that group or could create a group like that, it wouldn't be as good of a game. But because that exists, oh my gosh. I have to teach Peter, and Dan's played Agricola, right?
I played Caverna a couple of times. I think I only played it once or twice multiplayer. Played it a couple more times than that single player with the solo mode. I'm not sure if I ever played the original Agricola.
Agricola, I have to teach you and Peter how to play that one. It's real. I think it's the best out of all 3. I know popularity-wise, Feast for Odin is considered the best out of it. But oh man, I like Agricola. I like all 3 of them. I have to do an introduction to Euros for Peter.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, trying to think of, because I'm not real good. Again, not having played a ton of what games I have played that would fall under the category of a Euro game. Lords of Waterdeep.
Would, yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
I thought so.
Euro.
So I've played Lords of Waterdeep. I've probably played at least 1 or 2 other ones that would, I guess, be considered a Euro. But again, I'd have to. Carcassonne.
I think it falls under that. It's not like my definition of a Euro, but I believe it.
Well, because it's, again, the complexity is probably less than what you're kind of considering, I would assume.
Yeah, most of my Euros fall under either worker placement, action selection. They follow mechanisms over functionality.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be complex to be a Euro, but I definitely would not start them on any Uwe Rosenberg as a Euro.
Well, he said
I could probably handle it.
Yeah, you could do it. Lords of Waterdeep is a good intro. It's a very good game. It's great.
I enjoyed it.
Solid game. It's a worker placement where Agricola is more like action selection. You do place workers, but you're in Lords of Waterdeep, you put them down and you get like your cubes and stuff, or you get your quests. In Agricola, you place your worker down to do something. So,
Right.
most of the time. You do have places where you gain like wood and boar and sheep, but the majority of the game is being able to function and do stuff with
Okay.
that. So you're not turning in quests like Lords of Waterdeep. You're trying to build fences, trying to plow fields and stuff.
Okay.
But
Well,
you'd pick it up real quick, I think.
well, Charterstone's also a great intro to Euros.
We can move you up to Agricola. Although the component quality in Charterstone is amazing. I stole all the little coins out of it. They have metal coins that come with the game.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play your game anymore, but I want all your pieces.
Yeah,
for my
all your
other
pieces.
games.
And
For
I
all
got
my
all
other
the
games.
meeples, so many meeples. So good. Got so much stuff.
A large chunk of my collection is card or card-based games, I think. There's some that don't fit that tag, but I got a lot of card games.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I got a lot of worker placement Euros and Amerithrash games too.
I got
Super excited. CMON's going to come out with their Onk Kickstarter pretty soon. It's going to take all my money. It's going to happen.
Been
They-
waiting.
I see the trailer for that.
Yeah, and then they on Instagram and stuff, they're bringing out pictures of the gods that they're going to put in it too,
Oh, okay.
which is cool. I think they would have already done it, but I think with the problems with the coronavirus and stuff, I think they're waiting.
Probably.
Yeah,
Smart
everything's
move.
on hold.
Yeah. They don't want to let Ron's a Kickstarter and no one has a job.
Right.
So what other things did you guys...
I actually got a notice, come to think of it, from Gameland Games saying that their Tiny Epic Dinosaurs was delayed for coronavirus reasons. Like the factory, that's responsible for making the game in China was closed down for several weeks, so they're pushing back their estimate for when things get delivered for several weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's acceptable though, or well, at least you would understand.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Yeah.
Right.
But so what else have you guys been doing on the I guess forced vacation?
So the thing that I would like to do, something that I've slowly been reaching out to people, is I would like to play some tabletop games online.
Yeah, me too. I'm just not very. I haven't done it before. I have.
Well, I haven't either, so that's why like we just gotta get some people together and be like, well, let's do this thing and figure it out. I've been watching some videos and some live streams of people playing some games on Tabletop Simulator on Steam. So I went ahead and bit the bullet and bought Tabletop Simulator and started looking through some of the modded games that they've got available on there, and then also some of the games that they can, downloadable content that they've now started to provide. They have a DLC paid version that you can buy for Wingspan. Even though I think there's like an official Wingspan version that's supposed to come out sometime in the spring that's like non-tabletop simulator related, but that's not released yet. So since they don't have that ready for release yet, they went with Tabletop Simulator to do like another official version. So I think it's like $8 or something. So I was thinking about maybe getting that and playing with some people just to see what it looks like.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, since Peter brought it up, I'll chime in here. So I mentioned before that I am on Steam and I've been on there for a while. I've had access to Tabletop Simulator for a while, but it's been sitting in my collection for ages, not installed. And so when Peter started investigating, he put a fork in me. So I downloaded it and I installed it, and I looked at all the free mods that were available, and I found a good 90% of my collection among the free mods.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to play anything that's in my collection, we could try.
Well, see, that's what I'm
It'll be
saying.
a-
So you
it'll be a
already know
learning
the rules.
experience.
Yeah, you already know the rules. It's just everybody here being able to get on at the same time and to learn the controls.
Tabletop, to learn the platform. Platform.
Yeah, I'm sure I can muddle my way through it. I just have Tabletopia right now, but I could get the Tabletop Simulator. I don't know what the difference is between the two.
No, I don't really know the difference either. Again, I've started messing around with the tabletop simulator just within the last couple days, and there are a ton of controls. But setting up a table and getting people together doesn't seem like it should be that difficult. It's just, again, like normal, finding the time that all of us are available at the same time. But I think it'd be a lot of fun. Plus, again, your brother can play with us because it's online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
I think Tabletopia seems to focus a bit more on, Kickstarter games that are currently on Kickstarter, so you get a chance to try them before they're actually released. They have a lot of that. They do have like the regular games too, but most of those you have to pay for. But a lot the Kickstarter ones are usually there for free as like a beta trial.
Okay.
Oh, that did remind me. I played Blood Rage Digital, the beta version, more on there until it actually
just ended.
Just ended, yeah. I like it. They got some work to do, but I like it.
We'll see. He's right. They absolutely have some work to do, but it is a beta, so we'll see how it comes out when they actually release the real thing.
Yeah. So, what else have you guys been doing? Anything else exciting? Other than me with, not having to wear anything that's not pajamas?
Let's see. Finished watching the Netflix documentary series Ugly Delicious. So if anybody is into food-related things, it is fantastic. Just know that it's very language heavy for all those adults out there. But it's a really, really good show. Lot of education value from that show. And I'm currently watching an old film that's on pause right now, called Death Trap from 1982 with Michael Caine and Christopher Reeves, which has so far been fantastic. So I was told if you liked Knives Out, then you want to watch Death Trap. And we really liked Knives Out when we saw it in theater last year, or earlier this year, or whenever that was. But yeah, so enjoying Death Trap quite a bit. I think we just got it online through Vudu or one of those online sources, like $10. So that's
really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's about as exciting as it gets for me.
Woo!
Woo!
Yeah. Speaking of TV and movies, I've been mostly just going through the whole MCU. I've been watching all the movies and all the TV shows, although there's certain like ones that are missing that I can't find without having to pay extra for. Like the Spider-Man, it's not on any of the free things. The old Hulk movie, I guess they stripped it from the MCU, so they said now you have to pay for it if you want to watch it.
A lot of those available actually on Amazon Prime, like all the Iron Mans and stuff. So you may want to.
Oh yeah, I've watched. I've checked Amazon Prime, and I got Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney, and between the three, that has most of the stuff. All the Spider-Man though ones are pay. The old Hulk is pay, but everything else I've been finding, even and the TV shows, which are hit and miss. Some of them are good, some of them are I really did enjoy Daredevil, and that was probably one of the better ones, was Daredevil.
Well, congratulations, Nathan. You're more up to speed on the MCU than probably I am. At least the movie and video part.
I have still not seen Endgame, though. I'm not up that far
yet. It's really good.
That's the whole reason I'm doing this thing, watching all these, so it's like when I get to Endgame, I actually understand what's going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuances in that movie. There's a lot of moving pieces.
For sure.
How about you, Dan? Anything else?
No, we've been playing games. We've been hunkering down. We've been listening to podcasts. We've been running through. I at least have been running through the back archives of like Ludology and Flip the Table. And,
wait, you listen to other people's podcasts here, sir?
No, there is only us. There is only Zool.
Not that I listen to it, but I like Ludology. It's a good one.
Flip the Table's good, but I guess they lost most of their episodes.
Flip the Table, I don't think comes out with regular episodes anymore, don't they?
Yeah, but they also had an issue a while back where their hard drive got corrupted and they lost a whole lot of episodes and they were
Oh no.
no longer available on the internet.
That's sad if that happened. It must have happened. We've listened me and my brother have listened to the entire series starting from episode 1. We just did their official last episode today, episode 10,000, which was actually episode like 211 or 111, something like that.
Just on live.
But like we haven't listened to any of their extra content because they did post another like 6 episodes after their official last episode. So we're looking forward to checking that out, down the road here. But if their earlier episodes are no longer available, I am a sad panda because that stuff was it was very entertaining, and oddly still relevant because they just covered games that weren't relevant in the first place.
Yeah. I do like their series. That won't happen to us. We're backed up on 3 hard drives and on a third-party place.
Oh, man. So much work for me to do to erase my record. My potentially criminal record. I mean...
Although, I would recommend Ludology to Peter.
Yeah?
It is definitely like... It's like a educated look at board games.
Oh, okay. How do you spell it?
I am not educated. That's why I listen to it. That is a good question. Let's figure out what Ludology.
Ludo.
Okay, I got it.
Logi.
Ludology.
Well, thank God, because I was gonna butcher that.
So, what podcast app are you listening to Flip the Table on? Because I know my podcast app, you can only find a couple episodes, but...
I'm sorry, currently I'm using Google Play as the platform I'm listening to stuff on.
Okay, I might have to check that out.
Yeah, Google Play is pretty good.
Yeah, because interesting thing about the internet is, like, once things are up there, they're never truly lost. So, yeah, you can find them some places, but not everywhere.
Yeah, you can truly lose things.
It's hard.
Yeah, it can be done, though. It can be done. If you really want to, it can be done. It didn't work for Star Wars in the holiday special, but it can work for other things.
The Star Wars holiday special.
Have you seen that thing? Wow.
I've heard of it.
I may have watched it back when I was a wee lad. I don't remember like hardly any of it, but I probably saw it at some point.
To truly appreciate the horrific nature of it, you should bring it up on YouTube and watch it.
Depending on how long it is, I may or may not choose to waste that time.
Oh, it's super long and super bad.
I mean, I do have some time to waste as long as we're sheltering at home, but
yeah.
I may have things that I want to do more than that.
There's a lot of things you'll want to do more than that after you see it.
I'm sure.
It's bad. Now, I will say, if you haven't seen the Ewok movies, you should see those. Battle for Endor and Caravan of Courage.
No. We watched those, again, when I was a wee lad, not anytime recently.
They're not, like, phenomenal, but they're not bad.
They are... thoroughly mediocre, I think, would be the way I describe them.
It's made for TV. They're made for TV, so that's what it is.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
I think I don't know if it was Caravan of Courage or the Battle of Endor where they did the narration that reminded me a lot of, if you've ever seen the Gods Must Be Crazy movie. Where that is a really good movie if you ever want to see it. Okay. It's about a tribe in Botswana that's never seen people in their entire life. Mm-hmm. And a Coke bottle falls out of an airplane, and they pick it up, and it's the hardest material that they have, and they start fighting over the Coke bottle. So they believe the gods must have sent it to them to disrupt their harmony, and one of the villagers has to throw it off the edge of the earth. So that's the synopsis for the movie. It's really, really good, and it has that narration because they speak in clicks.
Okay.
So it's narrated as what they're saying, and like a storybook thing.
It is a very good movie. When described, does sound like it could be a little offensive. It's not. It's silly. It's meant to be silly.
I don't think it would be offensive. I don't know. I think it's a good movie. It definitely tells you about gives you a nice look at tribal life, and it's interesting. But that's what that. So yes, so now Peter, you The Gods Must Be Crazy, and Dan, you have The Gods Must Be Crazy, and then you have to watch both Ewok movies.
Both Ewok movies.
No, I don't have to watch both Ewok
Dan's
movies.
like, no, I'm good.
I did that when I was a youngin'. Did that when I was youngin'.
You have to recreate. That's like watching SpongeBob SquarePants again. You appreciate why you
don't have to do that. You don't have to do that.
Like some of these shows, like I was rewatching like He-Man and stuff, and I'm like, wow, I was really something wrong with me when I was a kid. I'm not sure what, but there was something wrong with me when I was a kid.
Yeah, I'm just realizing that some of our younger listeners may not even know what a made-for-TV movie is.
I'm pretty sure they still make made-for-TV movies crazy all the time. In fact, you could consider like Netflix originals and Prime originals as made-for-TV.
Oh my gosh, but you really can't compare them anymore.
No.
Like the budgets for a made for Netflix series or movie, the budget is astronomically beyond a made for TV movie when we were younger.
Sure.
I think he's got a point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hallmark Channel still kind of makes made for TV movies, but they're really bad.
Absolutely they do.
Yeah, they do.
All right. So actually, I think I remember the name of it.
What?
There is a documentary on board games. I am trying to remember what it was called, and they went over. It's called The Game Designers. I really want to see that one. It came out.
I think I've heard of this.
Yeah, they interviewed a lot of the big designers and stuff, and it goes over like publishing a board game from start to finish, and trying to put the game on Kickstarter, and interviewing all the designers and the developers and the process for it. It's directed by Eric Braille. I think that game. I really want to see that movie. I think it would be good. I don't know how to get it. I'll have to figure that out.
It looks like you can watch it
looking
on.
it up.
Yeah, I am. It looks like you can get it on Apple TV. It looks like you should be able to get it on your Roku, Chromecast. It looks like it's $4.99 to rent it for 2 days, or $11.99 to buy it.
I'll rent it.
So
I'll have to report back of how good it is.
yeah, absolutely. Let
We
us
could
know.
rent it, and then we can get on Skype and watch it all together.
No, we don't do that.
Yeah, we can
Never do that. I do not condone doing that. It's a bad Nathan. Bad Nathan. Moving on. So we're gonna figure out a game. I guess we can play together on online. I don't know what it would be like.
I feel like the first thing that we got to do is like you said, choose a game, but make sure it's one that it's fairly simple, doesn't have a ton of components. Just because if we're just getting in and wanting to kind of learn the basics of the platform.
Do they have card games like on there?
They do. They've got card games. They've got dice games. They've got some stuff that looks like it should be fairly simple, but I didn't know if there was any that you guys knew pretty well that you'd be able to teach.
I wonder if Skull King.
Yeah, I mean, Zulkin, I think, is on there.
I said Skull King, but I'm fine with Zulkin too. Skull King is a trick-taking game that's similar to the game called Oh Hell or Wizard. Sulkin would be really cool too, but I think that has a lot of bits in it, doesn't it? It definitely has the turning gears.
What do you call it? Where's my list? I like downloaded all these mods for games I own earlier today, and I'm pretty sure Zulkin was among them. It does have a decent number of bits, but the the file that I found has scripts in it, so that it turns the wheel properly, and the pieces that you put on the wheel follow the wheel properly, and other nonsense like that. So
Is Glory to Rome on there?
it is. And
Okay,
it's just
done.
a card game.
Done.
Yep,
And I
yep.
know that one.
Yeah. We should play Glory.
It's complex for a card game, but it is absolutely worth a play. Yes.
You guys just give me a day and a time.
Yeah, after we're done with the podcast, we should talk about schedules.
Absolutely.
There you go. So, I think that's going to about wrap that up. Hopefully
do we have any other board game related nonsense to toss in here at the end?
I do have games I hope to play. So I learned how to play Quacks and Quedlinburg.
Amazing.
I know. I read the rules and I'm so excited about it. So for Peter here, if you're not familiar. With the game, Quacks and Quedlinburg is a game where you play as a alchemist, and you're trying to throw crap into a pot and produce the best elixir randomly, because you don't know what you're doing because you're a quack. Okay. And what it is it's a bag. You throw your chips in there, so you come with the starting chips, and you pull your chip out, and your chip will say like a number on it, and you move up the pot that number, and you keep pulling chips out until you decide to stop. And you might think, like, why wouldn't I just pull all my little chips out of the bag? Well, there's things called cherry bombs in there. And if you ever pull out cherry bombs where the number equals to or greater than 7, you bust. And your reward each round, you get 2 things you get to do. You can either gain points and buy more ingredients to throw in this bag of junk. But if you bust, you can only do one or the other. And you have 7 attempts to get the most points in the end. So it seems like it's going to be a really cool push your luck game.
Okay.
And it seems like
it is.
It is a really cool. I'm super excited about it. I really want to play that one. I think that one's going to be a really good game. My daughters are going to like. The other game I read the rules to was Shipwrights of the North Sea.
Okay.
That game I think is going to be fun, but it's definitely no Architects of the West Kingdom, which I really love. It's a much simpler game. There's less rules to it. I'm not sure about it. We'll see. It's definitely unique. It's not like any of the other ones I've played before. But Quacks of Quedlinburg. Super excited.
Oh yeah, Quacks of Quedlinburg, great. Shipwrights, not one of the. I've played that one, but from what I've heard, it's not nearly as good as his other ones. I didn't think it was that great, so. But maybe you'll enjoy it more than I did.
And the other game is Keeper.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you got this from me. Right?
Yeah, yet to get that played, but I think my wife and I will like it.
It's essentially worker placement. It should be more up your alley than mine.
Yeah, I read the rules to it. I like how you have this infinite folding board thing, which is your boards that you can play off of. So it makes like a random, with air quotes, board for each season that you play on. You're going to have some repetition because I think 2 of the elements have to match up on each board. Can't remember, but I think it's 2 elements. But in general, they're random. I think it'll be cool. Is there any games you guys are looking to get to the table here while you're still at home?
I have a report from a game that I did get to the table. So me and my brother got back to In the Hall of the Mountain King.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we played it a second time, and we're pretty like the game's definitely got something going on for it. I'll give it that much. But for us, it kind of fell flat. We felt like there were a bit too many like bits and moving pieces for a game that's ultimately actually pretty short. Because like the flow of the game is like you build a tunnel, maybe you can build a second tunnel, and then you got to recruit a troll in order to get more resources. And once someone has recruited 6 trolls, they trigger the end game. So there aren't that many turns in the game. So it ends up being kind of on the short side. And the decisions that you make like during your turn, there are some intricacies there, like whether or not you use a workshop that you have access to and for what, and whether or not you activate a spell card. But in terms of like building tunnels and recruiting trolls, the decision is usually obvious.
What's the play time on it? Okay.
I'm sorry, the box says 90 minutes.
Is it about that or shorter, you think?
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't think we actually timed either one of our 2 plays that we've logged so far. It feels short.
I put as well. I think that does sound about right. It doesn't feel that long, but I'm pretty sure it was about an hour and a half. It is definitely a intense game. It's one of those games you can easily paint yourself in a corner that it's hard to get out of. So if you're not wary and if you're not good at planning several turns ahead, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. You may not enjoy this game as much, but a heavy strategy person that really can think ahead will love this game. At least in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll admit to that. Like the especially the first couple times with the game, I'm often like I say, shooting from the hip. And I enjoy that style a little bit better, I guess. So that could color my glasses.
Then you wouldn't be able to see out of them.
But they're rose colored. Rose colored.
So everything's red. Okay. So I have a recommendation for Peter if he hasn't tried the game yet. So you're looking like a good 2-player game to play with your wife.
Mm-hmm.
If you liked Japor, another one that I think is really good is Fox in the Forest.
Mm.
I have heard good things. I also really, really like the box, the art, and everything that's going for it. Mm-hmm. I've seen it at New Dimensions, so I'm probably gonna have to wait until they open up again.
Yeah, they have both Fox in the Forest and Fox in the Forest Duet.
Okay.
I would recommend Fox in the Forest first.
Okay. All right.
For Duet.
But it's good. You enjoy the play.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I don't think you can play. I don't know of another trick-playing 2-player game that works.
Okay. All right.
Fox in the Forest really does work.
Yeah, last time I was at the store, that was one of the ones I was looking at. So I'm glad to have a good recommendation for it.
Yeah, that would definitely be up there. I
have a game that I have a game that I'm getting ready to put on the table that I've played before and really enjoyed, and I just finally got my own copy of it, and that's Space Corp, which is a phenomenal GMT game. And GMT games don't get a lot of attention outside the wargaming community, mainly because they don't really advertise. They don't send out they don't send out review copies. They don't really advertise outside of GMT magazines and wargaming magazines. But so this one has been really under the radar, and it's just starting to get a little attention. But it's excellent. It shares some similarities to the Die Hard game that I played recently, in that it has a 3 act in it, and you're going in. I would call this a 3X game. You're exploring, you're expanding, and you're exploiting, but you're not exterminating. There's no real combat in this game. Basically, the way this game works is you start with a small board that's the inner solar system, and then you're flying out to these outposts and building bases and just trying to get to the point where you can get into the next stage, where you can get beyond our solar system. Meanwhile, you have goals you can make as well, and it's a card-driven game where you have these cards that you can either play them as into your tableau, which means every time you take that relevant action with the cards in your hand, you also get to add that permanent bonus that's in your tableau. And you can, in one action, you can play as many cards as you want from your hand, but it costs actions to get more cards. So you really got to manage your hand very well in this game. And then it goes into second stage, which is the outer solar system, and then you're exploring, and then the third stage is finally you're getting into the galaxy, where you're going into different nebulas, and everything takes a little longer, but its payoff is much larger, and it's really does ramp up. You have a lot of extra things that you're doing by the end, because they gradually, each act they add a couple things that change the rules a little bit or add a little bit to it. And it's really a fun game, and it does have an advantage over the Die Hard that does similar things in that it is definitely highly replayable.
Yeah, it's definitely a game I want to try to get to the table at some point or get played. Yeah. And I like GMT a lot. Mm-hmm. So, and it looks like it has really good production quality.
With all GMT games, it's definitely a lot easier if you have somebody good at explaining rules, because generally their rule books aren't that great, although this one's one of the better ones.
I don't know. If this thing goes too much longer, I'm going to run out of Wheel of Time books to read and Star Wars to watch.
Well, you can always do it like I do and watch the MCU again.
No, I'm good.
There's tons of that.
I'm good. I'm going to talk my daughters into more complex board games.
Or you can start something like One Piece or Naruto. You won't even come close to finishing that.
And don't talk to my daughters. They already watch too much anime.
Yeah, they'd probably all hope for that.
Yeah, they've watched most of Naruto. They didn't really get into One Piece. I don't know what they're watching right now, but it's some other couple different. Fairy Tail they're watching, and some other thing. So, Ruby?
Oh, yeah. That's, Ruby's a great American-made anime-inspired series by Rooster Teeth.
Wonderful name.
Yeah, that's the name of the production company. It's an odd production company. They do a few odd things, but yeah, that's one of their standout programs is Ruby, which is a very strong series. Thank you for listening. If you have any feedback for us, feel free to visit us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Board Game Geek Guild 2989, or our website at tabletopgamingguild.com. And don't forget to like, follow, and or subscribe. Tabletop Gaming Guild is a product of Tabletop Gaming Guild, LLC. All rights reserved.